Thank you for joining this month's Connect with Control M session. My name is Drew Casas, and I'll be your facilitator for this webinar. Today, we will explain how to troubleshoot the microservices in Control M 921. We have three presenters today from the Control M support team: Gilles Demont, Rafi Uregin, and Ricardo Moreira. We recommend going to full screen mode during this presentation by pressing the full screen button. Please note that this presentation is available via the Files pod at the bottom of your screen. For any questions you may have during the presentation, please post them in the Q&A pod. We will be addressing your questions at the end of the session. Today, we'll explain the topics you see here regarding microservices overview and architecture. We'll demonstrate how to use the microservices CLI to manage these services. Then we'll discuss how to troubleshoot and enable debug for these microservices. Afterwards, we'll take your questions during the Q&A session and give you the opportunity to provide your feedback. For our first demonstration, Gilles will go over the general architecture and purpose for these microservices. Gilles, please go ahead.
Greetings and welcome everybody. My name is Gilles Demol and I am from the Control M support team. And today I will be presenting the microservices overview. For today's agenda, we will be covering the following topics during this session. First, an overview of Control M EM and Control M Server microservices. Then, we will review the Control M EM microservices architecture, 12 diagram, then an overview about Control M EM services. Secondly, we will review Control M Server microservices architecture, 12 diagram, and finally, an overview about Control M Server services. Why Control M EM and Control M Server microservices? These services are a set of Kafka microservices that are independent from the Control M core processes, and it can perform individual tasks without making requests directly to the core processes. This enables the environment to use fewer core processes resources and run more efficiently and provide larger scalability. The Control M EM services are started by the service CA, which is started by the Control M EM configuration agent. The Control M Server services are started by the Control M Server configuration agent. This is services architecture. We can see here all Control M EM services. The protocol services receives a request from core processes and transforms them into Kafka messages. Apache Kafka is message broker that can receive thousands of requests per second. As already mentioned, the Control M EM configuration agent controls the ACA start. We will discuss individually about the services on next slide. These services are considered for managing the whole set of services. Let's review each of them. The service configuration agent. It works as a watchdog process for all services. This process helps to monitor and sends commands to all services by running the EM-SCA utility. The Apache Kafka. It's critical to the entire microservices subsystem. Without it, services won't be able to communicate to each other. Apache Zookeeper. It works as a coordinator between Kafka instances. The services health monitor. It produces health reports for all service statuses from live checks since 12 the Apache Kafka. The protocol translator. It receives requests from the CMS, GUI server, and services click command and translates this request into Kafka messages. The Control M Enterprise Manager services. Let's review each of them. Validation service. It provides job validation services to Control M EM definition utilities. It's used with API commands, for example. Report service. It enables the Control-M reports. Control-M web. It enables the Control-M web application to function. Scheduling service. It calculates the date that match the scheduling criteria of a job or smart folder. Application indicator. It creates custom design job types that are deployed to the Control-M environment. Authorization service is responsible for external IDP communication and API token management. EM-CTM request service. It's a channel between the Control-M EM and the Control-M server, and is responsible for the user action request log, why, and order. Finally, EM-MFT update service. It's a channel between the Control-M EM and the Control-M server, which is responsible for the MFT file updates. This is Control-M server services architecture. We can see here all the Control-M server services. Apache Kafka is message broker, and there is direct communication between the CE core process and the Kafka service. As already mentioned, the Control-M server configuration agent controls the LCA start. We will discuss individually about these services on next slide. These services are considered for managing the whole set of services. Their functionality is the same than for the Control-M EM services that we discussed before. The only difference stands there is no protocol translator in Control-M server architecture. The Control-M server communicates directly with the Kafka service through the Swift protocol layer. The Control-M server services. Let's review each of them. The CTMS API Gateway Service. It handles requests from the Control-M EM specifically for ordering. Over this channel, it performs order, why, output, and log requests. CTMS APP Update Service. It provides a channel for Control-M EM to query server for MFT updates without any impact to job updates. CTMS Job Info Service. It handles the waiting information why and job log request. CTMS Job Order Service. It handles order request, new day, CTM UDLY, CTM order, request order for Control-M EM. Scheduling Service. It calculates the date that match the scheduling criteria of a job or a smart folder. Please find here some useful microservices support knowledge articles. Thank you. Next, we will demonstrate some useful actions regarding microservices. Back to you, Drew.
Thank you, Gilles, for going through the overview and architecture of the Control-M microservices. Our next one is about how to use the microservices CLI and debug on the Control-M Enterprise Manager. We have Rafi, who is going to lead us through this demonstration. Rafi, please go ahead.
Thank you, Drew, and welcome everyone to this session. My name is Rafi Uredjan. I am from the Control-M support team. I would like to show you some practical commands we can execute to query and perform various actions against the microservices running under the Control-M Enterprise Manager server. Here is an outline of the items we will look at. We will check the ports used by Kafka. Next, we will list and query the status of the services. We will use some command options to display the details of services. And finally, we will perform a preliminary action to force a synchronization of the configuration files. For the purposes of this demo, we will be using a version 9.0.21.300 installation on Red Hat Linux. Aside from the Unix-specific operating system commands, the Control-M utilities would essentially be the same for a Windows system, with some exceptions. They would not require the EM caller prefix, and some do have an equivalent that is slightly different. We will point out some of these for reference. Let's first connect as our Control M user CTM921. Let me run the ID command to show you the account. And here's the home directory. And let's look at the details of the operating system using hostname CTL. As you can see, we're running Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9.5. We can confirm the Control-M EM version via the installed versions.txt file. As you can see right towards the middle, we have the EM installation at version 9.0.21.300. Initially, let's say we want to verify that Kafka is up and running and which communication ports are in use by its processes. How do we approach this? Let me show you a command that can be used to retrieve the configuration. This is an EM with a -no_wrap space CHA space -get _ Kafka _ info -JSON. Please note that the EM caller must precede the utility for proper execution. If we ran this on Windows, the equivalent would be emcha space -get _ Kafka _ info space -JSON. As you can see, it lists the machine host name as well as the communication ports used by Kafka 19092 and Zookeeper 12230. Now let's verify the actual processes for the microservices are running. The services-CLI utility includes some options which will list concise or detailed information. The first column includes a display name of the service, and in parentheses we have the defined service, which is essentially the same name, substituting dashes in place of the space character, which we will make use of later on, followed by an internal instance identifier. Next, the state of the services may be retrieved with the -st flag. Let's run the command. Note that both the desired and actual state of each service is displayed. We observe the 14 active services listed here. If we wanted further details of the services, the -dt flag would display this information. Let's run the command. And I will pipe it to a more as there will be a lot of information displayed. Note that in addition to the states of these services, the OS process ID is also listed, which would be useful for cross-checking with a netstat or a ps command to verify the process is running and binding to the desired port. Again, we see all 14 services and their details. Each stanza begins with the service, the instance name, the host on which the process is running, the Unix PID, and the current state. I realize this is a significant amount of output to view. We can add a grep to our services CLI command to isolate the stanza for a specific service. Why don't we try one for Apache-Zookeeper? So this is a convenient command you may use to display the relevant details for one specific service. If there was some issue with the service, the state field would show down and the message field would contain the appropriate verbiage in place of a simple OK or a blank. We see that the Unix PID for this process is 148784. Let's run a netstat with a -NAP flag to cross-check the Zookeeper PID with its listening port. The output displays a couple lines, the first showing a listen locally on port 12230, and the second line an established socket on the local IP address with port 56208. Recall from our first command where we retrieved the configured ports. Let's add a grep of the string zookeeper_port to zero in on the port information. And over here again we see the port listed as 12230. And so we confirm that the Zookeeper is indeed listening on its configured port. As a final check, let's verify the running process using the ps command. So the process lists the service as Apache Zookeeper, as we can see right over here. So we have confirmed that Zookeeper is indeed listening on its configured port 12230, and the current active PID is Java process 148784. You may be wondering what connection Zookeeper established on the second line of the netstat output with port 56208. Why don't we check this port to see what process is bound to it? We see a PID of 2378416. And if we check this process, we can confirm it is Apache Kafka as seen in the Java command line. You can see surface as Apache-Kafka. One additional utility that may be used to query and control these services is the EMSCA, which provides an API to the services configuration agent. Let's show the usage here. For a quick spot check of all services, we can run the utility with the status flag. It may take a minute, and then it shows that all services' current state match their desired state. The services -details flag will produce detailed output, just as the services -CLI that we ran previously. Let's give it a run. On some of the options, we could also query a given service and individually check and set its state. As an example, let's query the Control-M web service. First, let's set the desired state. And we see that the command was actually sent and the desired state was set to up. Then let's retrieve the desired state with the get desired state option. And we see that the desired state is indeed up. And finally, let's check the current state. And we see that the current state is also up. Within the Unix platforms, the pertinent process checks are built into the root_menu activation menu, so we can perform a quick spot check here. We can launch root_menu, input our credentials, and then go into the activation menu and perform a check all. Now, as this goes through, initially we have all the usual processes like the gateway, GUI server, forecast, self-service, and so on. Then we have a check of the web server, which is currently up. And finally, we have a section dedicated to the microservices. And we see that the services YML configuration file is valid, as well as the Zookeeper and Kafka are running. The services configuration agent is running. And then we see our 14 microservices as well, which appear to be running and connected to Kafka. You can see the similarity on the displayed output with the services-CLI utility we ran earlier. Now let's exit root_menu. So far we have gone through checking and displaying the status of these microservices. Let's go through one preliminary troubleshooting step. As an example, you are logged on to the CCM GUI and you notice the message Kafka is not available is present. What non-invasive action can we take? There is a command line we can run to force a synchronization between the server_jaas.conf and services client_jaas.conf configuration files. We must first change to the appropriate directory where the Apache_Kafka_config.py script resides. This would be in the services/bin directory. Here's a quick listing of the utilities. And let's issue the synchronization command. We observe in the standard output that the configuration properties for Kafka, including the host, port, and mentioned files, are confirmed to be in sync. In summary, these are the commands we use to query and display information regarding the EM microservices. We'll leave this slide up for a few seconds in case you'd like to go through the details of reading each of the commands used. However, please note that this information will be available in the future after the presentation. Next, we will demonstrate some useful actions regarding the Control-M server microservices, including some detailed debugging steps. Back to you, Drew.
Thank you, Rafi, for showing how to manage and debug the microservices on Control-M EM. Next up, Ricardo will demonstrate how to use the microservices CLI and debug on the Control-M server. Ricardo, please go ahead.
Thank you, Drew, and welcome everyone. My name is Ricardo Moreira. I'm from Control-M support team in Brazil, and I'm going to show those topics on this demo. What are the ports used by Kafka? How do I check the status? How to get the service details? How to get a specific process? How to sync data token between Control-M server JAS and client JAS? How to get the Kafka version and how to turn on the debug? Just as information, this is the version that we are going to use on this demo, v300, Control-M server v21300. To check the Kafka ports, we can open the file BMC server properties doing a cat. Here you can see that Zookeeper is using the port 12121 and Kafka is using 19093. To double check that, we can run the command netstat-nap pipe-grep this port 12121 and pipe-grep listen. As we can see, here is the process. Now let's check what is this process. We can do it using the command ps pipe-grep the process number. As you can see, this is the Apache Zookeeper. Let's do the same to the other port. Instead of 12181, let's put this one. It's gonna be 19093. Here we have the process. Let's check this process with the same PS. As we can see, this is the Apache Kafka. Let me clean this screen to make it better. Now, how do I check if the services are up and running? We can do that by running the command check services. As we can see here, the status are okay. We can see the service name. We can see all processes. If there is any match, it's going to be shown here. To check the status desired and current are matching, we can run this command CTMSCA status. As we can see here, is all matching. If I want more details about those processes, I can run the command CTMSCA services details. Wait. As we can see, it's showing a lot of details for all microprocesses. And here we can see desired state up and the state up. So all the process looks good. Now, if I want the desired state for a specific server, I can do it by running the command CTMSCA get desired state and get this name here, schedule services. Hit enter, wait a little bit, let's see. As we can see, the desired state is up. As we can see above, it's the same. If I want to check a specific server if it is up, I can execute this command CTMSCA get current state -s and the service name. Let's see, service is up. As we can see here, up, and let's say up below. If you are receiving a warning at CCM saying that the Kafka is not available, this command may fix it. This command will force to sync configuration file server and the client JAS. As you can see, it's synced. To check the Kafka version that Control-M is using, you can run this command Kafka-topics-version. As you can see, we are running 3.3.1. Now let's see how to turn on the debug. These are the values valuing. Trace, debug, info, warning, error, fatal, all off or all on. If I need to check a problem or an error, how do I turn on the debug? You can do it by changing the file log4j Kafka. As we can see here, it's showing just as info. So no trace, no debug, nothing. Just to prove, let's see the produced log. Doing a tail at log files. As we can see, it's showing just info. Let's turn the debug on. We can do it by editing the file and changing from info to debug. Let's replace it, debug, mistype, sorry, my fault. Debugging. And the debug here as well. Let's save it. Oops, mistype, uppercase, lowercase, done. Now that I changed, I need to restart the Kafka. We can do it running this command, Kafka server stop. So it's done. Now we need, let's check the log. Let's change that instead of tail, let's put -f. Let's wait a little bit to start. As you can see, still info because it's restarting. Now let's see on the logs that's starting. As you can see, look at that. It's showing debug and info. This file grows very fast. I'm gonna show you. Look at that. If I do ls on that file, ls/la, this is the sizing. Look, growing very fast. Let's do it again. It's growing very fast, so we need to disable this debugging. Let's revert it back to info because it's generating a lot of information at logs. We can do it by changing this from debug to info and above as well. Info, save it, let's save it. Now we need to restart the Kafka. Okay, stop it. Now I'm gonna show you that the log is not going to grow. It's going to wait a little bit to start. It's just ended. Wait a little bit. Okay, now it's starting. It's normal, just an info. They start, it's normal to generate a little bit of info. Now stop it. I'm going to prove by doing ls. You're going to see that it's not growing. Look that. All the same size now. Now it's better. This information is useful when you need to check if there is any problem with microservices. In case they appear as unavailable from Control-M Configuration Manager, for instance. I listed here all commands that I use on this demo. That's all for today's demo. Thank you so much for all participants. Back to drill.
Thank you, Ricardo, for showing how to manage and debug the microservices on the Control-M server. All right, everyone. That concludes our session for today. On behalf of Gilles, Rafi, and Ricardo, and the entire Connect with Control-M team, thank you for spending some time with us today. We look forward to you taking advantage of features that we saw today in your environment. Stick around for the Q&A session where we will take your questions. But first, you can learn more about the BMC Education course, Control-M Fundamentals Operating, by clicking the link in the links section below, or you can visit the bit.ly link you see on the screen. Your feedback shapes our future webinars. We would appreciate if you will take a moment and answer a few questions for us in the survey that you will receive later today. You can find Control-M on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Links for each can be found in the links section below. You can watch previous webinars on the Control-M channel on YouTube. Today's webinar will be posted there within a couple of days. Let's kick off the Q&A. As a reminder, you can enter your questions on the Ask a Question section at any time.